briefing to mark the 2024 World Press Freedom Day. I'm particularly delighted to welcome the Honorable Minister of State Environment and Ecological Development, Dr. Isiaq Adekunle Adeboye Salako, and his entourage, and commend your willingness to collaborate with the Ministry of Information and National Orientation to have a joint press briefing. This collaboration is predicated on the theme of this year's World Press Freedom Day, which is a press for the planet, journalism in the face of environmental crisis. This ministry felt it would be an aberration to sit here and have a conversation on the environment without the ministry in charge of the environment being present. And so it was that we reached out to that ministry and they graciously honored our invitation. You're welcome, and thank you very much for coming. I would also welcome our friends from UNESCO and other UN agencies and development partners. You are welcome, sir, to this event. On this day, we celebrate the unique position of journalists who are expected to be knowledgeable in all subjects, because a journalist can be assigned any beat, ranging from political, health, engineering, education, security, environment, to the economy, among others. This therefore calls for continuous personal and organizational development for journalists to enable them to effectively discharge their duties. It is my fervent belief that the theme of this year's celebration is a clarion call to all journalists to lead the fight against climate change. We must use this remarkable day to instill in our hearts our commitment to galvanize the people towards mitigating the effects of climate change, bearing in mind the consequences to our livelihood, our security, and general well-being. On this note, therefore, permit me to reiterate the commitment of government, and in particular the Ministry of Information and National Orientation, to always uphold the sanctity of freedom of expression and always appreciate your contributions to shaping our lives as a people with unity of purpose, determined to have a world free of environmental crisis. I would also just chip in that the journalists too should be able to propagate their own cause. Today being the World Press Freedom Day, one would have expected a lot of, publicity to this day. But just on a personal note, when I was watching the newspaper review this morning, I think it was amongst the papers that I saw reviewed, it was only one newspaper that highlighted the World Press Freedom Day on the front page. And I thought that, if you don't blow your own trumpet, I don't know who will blow it. On this note, ladies and gentlemen, I just wish to congratulate you once again and welcome you to this event. Thank you very much for coming.
She couldn't have said it any better. Please, a round of applause for the permanent.
Good morning and welcome to the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We are reaching you live from Radio House here in the heart of the nation's capital city, Abuja. The program is a joint ministerial briefing in celebration of the 2024 World Press Freedom Day, with the theme, A Press for the Planet, Journalism in the Face of the Environment Crisis. And this is the reason we have the Ministers of Environment and that of the host ministry, Information and National Orientation, here are ready to brief the media. We've just listened to the goodwill message from the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Information and National Orientation, Dr. Ngozi Nwodiwe, and now we have the UNESCO representative in Nigeria giving his home address as well. Stay tuned as we bring you the rest of the program.
Friends of the media, today is our day, today is your day, World Press Freedom Day, which was proclaimed by the United Nations General Assembly in December 1993. in celebration, I would say, of its constitutive act, since it was in Namibia, in Windhoek, that was proclaimed the declaration, the Windhoek Declaration, which is at the origin of this World Press Freedom Day that we celebrate every 3rd May worldwide, to celebrate all of you, people of the media, our communicator. So the World Press Freedom Day is a reminder for all governments and stakeholders of the need to respect their commitment to press freedom, and it is also a day of reflection among media professionals about issues of press freedom and professionals' ethics. It is a day which celebrates the fundamental principles of press freedom, to evaluate press freedom around the world, to defend the media from attacks on their independence, and to pay tribute to journalists who have lost their lives in the exercise of their profession. The 2024 celebration is dedicated to interrogating the role of journalism and freedom of expression in the context of current global planetary crisis, with theme "A Press for the Planet: Journalism in the Face of the Environmental Crisis." UNESCO has identified that the information ecosystem has a key role to play in responding to this existential crisis. Unfortunately, this and the misinformation about environmental issues is crippling public and political support for climate action, effective policies, and the protection of vulnerable communities, including women and girls affected by climate change. We all can relate to the effect of climate change in the communities in Nigeria. This and misinformation on these issues has brought about insecurity in some of these areas. The role of the media in shaping public opinion and influencing behavior necessary for protecting the earth cannot be underestimated, especially in Nigeria, where public patronage of media content is significantly high. Engaging the media and climate change actors here today to address this global issue is necessary to counter mis and disinformation associated to planetary crisis. Honorable Minister of Information, National Orientation, Honorable Minister of State for Environment, I wish to congratulate you for this joint press conference, joint initiative, showing your commitment to address acutely this issue, the issue of press freedom, the issue of ensuring that the ecosystem is there for the practitioner, and the issue to tackle, to address key issue, the issue of planet, the issue of environment. Ladies and gentlemen, let me share you a few extracts of the message that is being shared today globally by the Director General of UNESCO, Madame Audrey Azoulay, on the occasion of this day. The planet is on the brink of a climatic precipice. 2023 was the hottest year on record, with an average global surface temperature 145% Celsius higher than in pre-industrial era. Other alarming records were also broken for ocean surface temperature, sea level rise, and glacier retreat. As humanity faces up to this existential peril, we must remember on this World Day that the climate challenge is also a journalistic and informational challenge. No effective climate action is possible without access to free and reliable scientific information. That's why this year's themes highlights the essential link between protecting freedom of expression, a public good, and preserving our planet. But this World Day is also a call to action to protect journalism and free, pluralistic information. A call to make the major social networks more accountable so that they can step up their moderation and regulation measures to counter disinformation and conspiracy around climate change in line with the guidelines for the governance of digital platforms published by UNESCO last year. A call to equip all citizens with the critical thinking skills needed to confront disinformation. A call also to protect journalists and media professionals, artists and scientists who are all too often the victims of harassment, violence, and censorship. A UNESCO study published this month shows that 70% of environmental reporters have been the victims of attacks, threats, or pressure because of their work. And 44 environmental journalists have been killed in the last 15 years. Access to reliable information is all the more vital in this super election year when some 2.6 billion citizens are called to the polls. How can voters remain masters of their own destiny if their choices are distorted by false information and polarized by hate speech? In this context, UNESCO remains firmly committed to defending freedom of expression as a fundamental human right and a pillar of democracy. That's why we defend journalists and train them in safety, including in crisis situations such as Ukraine, Afghanistan, Sudan, and Haiti. At the same time, we have trained thousands of judges, prosecutors, and law enforcement officers in the issues surrounding freedom of expression because they are the key players. Over the few next weeks, we will also be launching initiatives specifically dedicated to the environment to provide environmental journalists with greater protection and to strengthen media education and information on the major social networks. On 3 May this year, UNESCO would like to relay a simple message. Protecting free and pluralistic information also means protecting our democracies and our planet. End of quotation. So that was the message shared by the Director General of UNESCO on this edition of the World Press Freedom Day. So I wish all of us good celebration of this day. So happy Press Freedom Day, and thank you all medias for all the work you're doing, and thank you Honorable Minister for convening us for this celebration. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Please, another round of applause for Mr. Abdurrahmane Diallo. Thank you very much for that speech. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, going forward, as soon as the ministers make their remark, we'll move straight to the question and answer session. When we get to that point, the members of the press are advised to please state your name, your media organization you represent, and address your questions in line with the celebration of the World Press Freedom Day. As we do this, we thank you very much for your usual cooperation. With that being said, I'm inviting to the microphone at this time a man who has proven to be the voice of the people. I call him here in the ministry the #1 journalist of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, at this time I invite the Honorable Minister of Information and National Orientation, Alhaji Mohammed Idris.
Thank you. Very good morning to all of you. the Honorable Minister of State, Federal Minister of Environment, my friend, my brother, my colleague, Dr. Isaac Adekunle Adeboye Salako, the Permanent Secretary, Federal Minister of Information and National Orientation, my sister, Dr. Ngozi Nwodiwe, a medical doctor who happens to be in the business of information dissemination, the head of UNESCO Abuja office, Mr. Abdurrahman Diallo, thank you for the work you are doing. Directors of both Ministries of Information and National Orientation and the Ministry of Environment here present. Director General and Chief Executive Officers of all paratasals from both ministries. The Secretary General, the National Commission for UNESCO, Dr. Lateef Olagunju. Distinguished members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great honor that I welcome you all on this occasion of the joint press conference with the Federal Ministry of Environment and UNESCO, organized by the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation in commemoration of the 2024 World Press Freedom Day. This year's theme, A Press for the Planet, Journalism in the Face of Environmental Crisis, calls us to action as we are confronted by an environmental crisis of unprecedented magnitude, one that poses a threat not only to our planet, but to the very future of humanity. Climate change, biodiversity loss, pollution, and resource depletion are not abstract concepts. They are harsh realities that demand immediate and decisive action. In the face of this crisis, journalists emerge as guardians of truth and champions of accountability. They illuminate environmental injustices, expose wrongdoing, and amplify the voices of those most affected by environmental degradation. Through their investigative reporting, they hold governments and corporate organizations accountable for their actions and advocate for policies that promote sustainability and safeguard our planet. This year's theme resonates deeply with our ministry's vision and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's priority, which include restoring trust, reorienting national values, and creating an enabling environment for the media. It underscores the crucial role of journalism in addressing environmental crisis. I am pleased to state that the present administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu recognizes the importance of responsible media coverage in enlightening, informing, and educating Nigerians and the world. Through credible and timely information, everyone can be well informed, and the media can serve as a valuable tool for fostering transparency and promoting accountability. We also acknowledge the challenges that journalists face in carrying out their vital work. As environmental defenders, journalists often confront threats, harassments, and violence for their courageous efforts to expose environmental crimes and protect our natural world. As we celebrate World Press Freedom Day today, we must reaffirm our unwavering commitment to protecting the rights of journalists and ensuring their safety and security. As a ministry and government, we provided the most unfettered access to journalists and provided the enabling environment that has continued to encourage the Nigerian media to grow in leaps and bounds. It is our conviction that press freedom is not just a fundamental human right, it is also essential for environmental sustainability. Without a free and independent press, we cannot hope to address the complex environmental challenges that we face. Disinformation and misinformation undermine public understanding of environmental issues and hinder our ability to take meaningful action. Therefore, we must staunchly defend press freedom and support the work of journalists who are dedicated to reporting the truth. However, this day also throws upon the flip side of press freedom, which is responsible journalism. It is a call for the press to uphold the tenets of journalism by being factual, truthful, and responsible in their reporting. The need to be nationalistic and patriotic cannot be overemphasized. As journalists and members of the Fourth Estate of the Realm, we must see ourselves as strategic partners in the development of our nation, and nothing short of this will suffice. Therefore, as we reflect on the significance of World Press Freedom Day, I would like to commend UNESCO for providing us with the platform to commemorate this important occasion, and also thank the head of the Abuja office and his team for the partnership we have enjoyed. Let me also seize this opportunity to thank the Federal Ministry of Environment and Ecological Management and its agencies for this synergy and partnership on this very unique day. I would like to thank my brother, my friend, and my colleague, Dr. Isiaq Adekunle Adebayo Salako, for being part of this great day. We look forward to more of such partnerships to advance our common cause. Finally, as Minister of Information and National Orientation, I wish to reassure you of our continued commitment to tirelessly promote the tenets of press freedom, as well as supporting journalists in their mission to protect our planet. Let us redouble our efforts to build a future where journalism thrives, press freedom is upheld, and our planet is safeguarded for generations to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Please, a round of applause once again for him. Moving next to give his address is the Honorable Minister of State, Environment, for the Federal Ministry of Environment. When I was researching about the Honorable Minister, I found out that he was a medical doctor. He is a medical doctor, a community mobilizer, and a grassroots politician. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Dr. Isiaq Adekunle Adeboye Salako.
The Honorable Minister for Information and National Orientation, a media practitioner par excellence, cool-headed, highly professional, Alhaji Muhammad Idris, the special advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, my Egbon, Mr. Bayo Ononuga, the Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation, the head of UNESCO of the Abuja office, special assistants, directors, director generals, and CEOs of agencies, gentlemen of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, fellow advocates for the freedom of information. As we gather here today to commemorate the World Press Freedom Day in our country, I am deeply honored to address you all, not just as Minister of State for Environment, but as a passionate advocate for the healthy preservation of our planet and a worker in the stewardship of planet Earth. This year's theme, A Press for the Planet, Journalism in the Face of Environmental Crisis, cannot be coming at a better time as the world grapples with the greatest stress to our existence, the triple environmental crisis of climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution. The theme resonates loudly with the challenges we face and the responsibilities we hold as stewards of planet Earth. Environmental crisis has become so intense, so huge, that it is at the core of most of the challenges being faced by humanity. In our country, Nigeria, as in other parts of the world, it is a central culprit in the loss of lives and property through disasters, accentuation of poverty, food insecurity, armed conflicts, loss of livelihoods, public health challenges, displacement, and so on. Let me therefore commend the organizers for putting this event together and for also inviting the Federal Ministry of Environment as a partner. I particularly thank the Honorable Minister of Information and National Orientation and UNESCO for counting the Minister of Environment worthy to be part of this international press conference. The press and journalists constitute the framework for informing, educating, stimulating discussion, mobilizing and setting agenda for the public, who are the employers of government. A press for the planet at this point in time is therefore most needed if you are to get the public behind global and national agenda like net zero, energy transition, biodiversity beyond national jurisdiction, 30 by 30, ending plastic pollution, and such other pathways that we have set forth to address the environmental crisis. At the forefront of our efforts to combat the environmental crisis in our country are nationally determined contributions, our long-term low-emission development strategy, our commitment to achieving net zero emissions, and our framework for biodiversity conservation. These commitments, among others, outlines our path towards sustainability, emphasizing the need for collaborative action, innovation, and accountability. They represent the unwavering dedication of Nigeria to play her part in mitigating climate change and safeguarding the health of our planet for future generations. In this regard, the Federal Ministry of Environment is promoting nature-based solutions through tree planting, mangrove restoration, urban greening, and restoring wetlands. We are promoting the adoption of more environmentally friendly energy sources, including clean cook stoves. We are working hard to end gas flaring and plastic pollution. We are remediating all polluted communities, expanding our protected areas, addressing desertification, drought, flooding, and erosion. In doing this, we are fully in tune with the inclusivity agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, which is a key pillar in the 8-point presidential priority. We recognize the interconnectedness of environmental, social, and economic issues. We understand that sustainable development cannot be achieved without addressing the needs of all members of our society. By promoting inclusivity, we ensure that no one is left behind in our journey towards a greener, more prosperous Nigeria. Esteemed members of the Fourth Estate of the realm, ladies and gentlemen, security of life and property is the fundamental essence of government. Environmental degradation exacerbates resource scarcity, heightens social tension, and undermines stability. By addressing environmental degradation, which promote unhealthy competition for scarce resources, we can create not just a more resilient society, we will in fact be cutting off a vital driver of the insecurity currently being faced in our country. As we commemorate World Press Day Freedom, I call on all of us to reaffirm our commitment to the principles of a free and independent press, a sine qua non for effective climate journalism. Press freedom is indispensable to promote transparency, accountability, and social justice, which are critical to communicating the threats posed by climate crisis and making informed decisions to be more environmentally responsible. You, as journalists, have a critical role to play in driving environmental policy formulation and implementation, and also in shaping public perception about the crisis. Let us therefore work together across sectors and borders to harness the power of media in addressing the environmental crisis and advancing sustainable development. Journalism plays a pivotal role in advancing environmental agenda, serving as a catalyst for change, a watchdog for accountability, and a voice for the voiceless. Through investigative reporting, insightful analysis, and compelling storytelling, journalists shed light on the pressing issues on environmental crisis facing our nation and inspire mass action towards positive change. Without such mass actions, we will be unable to win the fight against the environmental challenges confronting our country. Ignorance, lack of awareness, and appropriate knowledge about the climate crisis is still rampant in our society. Let me therefore, in closing, call upon you and our dear friends in the media for more support in our drive for environmental advocacy and citizenship so that all creatures on earth thrives in harmony with the planet. We know that our behavior and our lifestyles is driving the environmental crisis that we're facing. We also know that changing behavior and lifestyle is not easy to achieve. Therefore, we must remain persistent in our advocacy, our awareness creation, our sensitization, and our education of the public. The doomsday clock is ticking, bringing humanity closer and closer to a triple whammy, which may ultimately seal all our fate. But if we work together, if the freedom of press is promoted, if our journalists come fully on board, deploying their reports as climate actions, we will save our cherished planet for ourselves and generations to come. Thank you, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Thank you very much.
I want to invite Mr. Bayo. Thank you, the Honorable Minister of State for Environment. Because today is World Press Freedom Day, this is our day, all of us in this room and many of the media practitioners around this country and around the world. I would want to give a few minutes to the Special Assistant to the President on Information and Strategy himself, and in every respect, one of the leading lights of journalism and media practice in this country, to make a few remarks on this occasion of World Press Freedom Day. Mr. Bayo Nanuga, please, a few remarks.
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I was not expecting to be called, but I was actually putting some notes for my use later on about this important day, especially the theme of this celebration, which focuses on our environment. I was just wondering, my little note I'm writing here, that maybe we as journalists, we are not focusing properly. We are paying more attention to politics, to the economy, and we are ignoring what is very, very important, and that's our environment. Everybody who lives in this country will have noticed that in the months of March and April, we experience very, very, very high temperature. everybody was complaining that the heat was very much, too much. And I know when I watch football in Europe, in March, April, when it's supposed to be springtime, I saw coaches wearing winter jackets. And I said, wow, in spring, people were still wearing winter jackets. In many parts of Europe and America, snow was reported in the month of April. And of course, around the world, so many natural disasters, floods in Asia, in many parts of the world. To me, it shows that in our country, let me focus on Nigeria, we are not paying attention to what's going on. We are not getting concerned about the logging in our forests. I come from a rainforest region in the southwest, and I say when I go around and I don't see the trees anymore. They've been logged, they've been cut off, and nobody's talking about how do we replace those trees. And the rainforest is no more rainforest, it's becoming something else. And we are not even thinking about preserving whatever is left. In Lagos, where I also live, I find that in the entire state, at least in the metropolis I always go, we only have one park that has been preserved, and that's the one being I think, funded by Chevron or so. We need many of those things to preserve our vegetation, our ecology, and so on. Otherwise, before you know it, this world that we know that we were brought up in, you just find it disappearing, and find life becoming imperiled and everything. And then for us as journalists, there will be nothing to report because we will not even be available to report anything. I think we should ponder on those things. As journalists, even if you are focused on reporting economy or reporting politics, please spare some thoughts. Make environmental reporting also part of your job. It's very, very important. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Well spoken. Please, another round of applause for Mr. Bayo Onanduga. Ladies and gentlemen, if you look at your time, we're far spent. And for the want of time, we'll please just take 3 questions from the members of the press, after which we'll bring it to a close. So at a show of hand, 1. Can we get the second person? 2. Is there any other one? And 3. The man on white. Please, your name and your media organization.
Good afternoon. My name is Benga Ashuru, Arise News. And I would plead that I abide with the existing protocol. My question is on the recent controversy on the Lagos-Calabar Highway project. And we want a confirmation from the Minister of State for the Federal Ministry of Environment, Dr. Isiaq Adekunle Adebayo Salako, to confirm to us if the environmental impact assessment certificate has been issued to the Minister of Works for the execution of the project.
All right. Thank you. The second person is in front here. In front.
Good afternoon,
Good
honorable
afternoon.
ministers. I'm not really going to ask a question, but I want to commend the Minister of Information and National Orientation. My name is Sonny Daniel. I work with Vanguard, for considering it necessary to organize this meeting. I'm sure this is one in a very long time in this country for a minister to remember the World Press Freedom and call for a meeting. So thank you very much, Minister. and you came along with the Minister of State for, which is an indication that Nigeria is also anxious to ensure that we are not left behind by the rest of the world in protecting and defending our environment, which is key to our well-being. That takes me to the only question I would ask. Honorable Minister of State for Environment, I know that environmental issues fall within the concurrent list. It's not on the exclusive list. And local governments can also make. But I want to suggest, it's not really a question. If you go to cities across Nigeria, you still find refuse on the roadside, especially near markets, heaps of refuse. But when I watch CNN, I see what is happening in Europe. They are actively converting the refuse into energy. So, if we are trying to protect and defend the environment against the rampant effects of climate change, what are you thinking about converting these heaps of refuse everywhere in the country into energy source? Is there anything that is being done in that area? Thank you very much.
And the third person, the man on white.
Good afternoon, Honorable Minister. My name is Friday Okerebe. I'm a reporter with Channels TV. I'm happy that the Minister of Information talked about patriotism and also responsible journalism. I'm happy about that. But we do have a problem as journalists in this our climb. We oftentimes, when you write stories that seem to massage the egos of those in power, you are safe. You don't have any hassle. And it's often been interpreted by some as responsible journalism. But when you do a story that seems to rattle a ministry or an individual, even though it is factual, you see a lot of people coming for your neck. So I want to ask, how do we address this? Because it's a problem that impedes on the freedom of press. It makes some journalists to be scared reporting the facts that they have. Even if they have authority to back it up, they are scared of their life. I will have a few colleagues who have lost their lives because they reported a fact that has put someone in trouble. So we're talking about freedom of the press, protecting the journalists, and how do we address this problem? Because it's right here in Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Minister, sir, you may please give your response.
Let me take the liberty, since I'm the host, to answer the last question, and then I will give the microphone to my colleague to talk about the other environmental issues. My colleague from Channels talked about the issue of responsible journalism vis-a-vis the safety of journalists. Let me say that this has always been a challenge the world over. It's not just a Nigerian issue, but I can tell you that as far as I can tell you, the press in this country is largely very free. And the fact that we are having this kind of engagement here is also a testament to that. I know that occasionally you have some little challenges here and there which we work every day to try to address. I can tell you that there is nobody today who has been killed in the life of this administration or who is in jail as we speak because he has expressed his views. I know that you may refer to some incidents that have happened in the past, which we have also worked to address in a way that is also very responsible. What I can tell you is that there is no way you can take away responsibility in journalism. Your freedom to express yourself ends where another person's freedom also begins. If you spread falsehood, if you spread misinformation, if you spread fake news, there is no way that can be called press freedom. Press freedom is not the same thing as passing falsehood, misinformation. And remember, even when I was talking to you, I talked about the issue of patriotism and the love for nationhood. We are all Nigerians. Nobody will come to this country and tell us how to behave. It is our responsibility to ensure that this country is safe, this country remains united, this country remains peaceful. So whatever you say or do, you also have to have at the back of your mind that you are reporting so that the society can live. So responsible journalism is that which enables you to report factually, honestly, transparently, but also maintaining the integrity and the sanctity of your own country. You cannot tear your country apart just because you want to talk about press freedom. We have been talking about FDI's foreign direct investment into this country. You cannot have your newspapers and radio stations flashing about insecurity all the time, about things that are not palatable, and expect people from other climes to come and invest in this country. This is our country. We must do things that allow us to continue to exist. But I can tell you that once you report factually, honestly, and transparently, nobody is going to ask you to come and answer questions. And if they do and your facts are very clear, they will ask you to go. I have not seen somebody in the life of this administration, for example, who has been put in jail or who has been sent on exile as a result of press freedom. When I called Mr. Bayo Onanuga to come and speak here when we were talking about press freedom, we knew what has happened in this country in the past. Some decades ago, we know that you have to leave this country to be able to report. So it's a very difficult thing to believe, but I can tell you that the press in Nigeria is largely free. But that freedom will further be consolidated if honesty, transparency is upheld in the manner that we'll report. I do hope that I've answered your question. I know that may lead to so many other questions. It's a debate that we can hold over and over and over again. But please let us continue to report honestly, responsibly, and have the interest of Nigeria at heart. Thank you very much. The Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, Information and National Orientation. And I want to sincerely appreciate my friend Benga Shiru from Arise. First, let me say that environmental impact and social assessment is mandated by law for some categories of projects, public and private. The Federal Minister of Environment implements that law, and I can tell you that we take it very, very seriously. We don't joke with it. As a matter of fact, I can tell you that in recent months we have observed a few loopholes in the existing law, and we are already approaching the Federal Executive Council to see how to block those loopholes. Now, answering your question specifically, the Federal Ministry of Works applied since December last year for environmental impact and social assessment of that project that you spoke about. And the Ministry of Environment has done its preliminary assessment, and I can confirm we have issued a preliminary impact assessment certification for site clearance and scoping of compensation, scoping for compensation. We have done that, and that is what is going on now. But you know that it is a very big project, a long road. So it's not something we can do in one fell swoop. So we have decided to therefore approach the issuance of the certification in phases like that, so that the project can go on and we can also be doing our own bit of it. Thank you very much. On the issue of refuse, I can tell you that it's a major challenge that we are confronted with. First, you must realize that the federal government does not own refuse. All refuse belongs to the state and the local governments. So, if we are going to, that is the reality. If we are going to now turn those refuse to wealth in several ways, it means we must work very closely with the states. For example, I can't go to Ogun State now as Minister of State for Environment and say I want to start doing recycling there. Because all the waste in Ogun State belongs to Ogun State government. And without the buy-in of Ogun State, I cannot do recycling in Ogun State. So, which means that everybody who has responsibility has to be carried along. What the federal government under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has decided to do on the issue of waste management is to create a national network, a national platform that states can plug in for the circular management of their waste. And that is why, I think about 2 weeks ago, we launched the National Circular Roadmap, which we will now engage the state to domesticate, and it will now serve as the framework for recycling of some of our previously considered waste. So that is the approach. We're going to work very hard because this is one major, if you look at our deliverable as Federal Minister of Environment, is one of the key deliverables expected of the Federal Minister of Environment under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We have to deliver on the circular economy for Nigeria, and we're working with the state to ensure we do that. So I assure you that God helping us, very soon you'll see a scale up of the level of circular management of our waste. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, with that we've come to almost the end, but not the end. Coming up next is a woman who is soft-spoken but very vast. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the Director, Public Communication and National Orientation of the Ministry, Mrs. Comfort Ajiboye. Please, a round of applause for her as she gives us the vote of thanks.
Thank you, MC. The Honorable Minister of Information and National Orientation, Alhaji Mohammed Idris, fellow Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, the Honorable Minister of State for Environment, Dr. Ishak Adekunle Adeboye Salako. Please permit me to stand on the already existing protocol. Let me start by expressing my unreserved appreciation to the Almighty God for making today a reality and a huge success. I would like to also extend my heartfelt thanks on behalf of the Honorable Minister of Information and National Orientation, Alhaji Mohammed Idris, fellow Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, for his commitment, dexterity, and professionalism, which has brought to bear on the management of our national communication and restoration of our national image and ethos. Honorable Minister, we salute you, sir. In the same vein, I would like to express my appreciation to the Honorable Minister of State for Environment, Dr. Ishak Adeboye Salako, for your invaluable support and collaboration in organizing this press conference to commemorate the 2024 World Press Freedom Day. My thanks and gratitude goes to my permanent secretary, our quintessential Amazon, Administrator par excellence, for her leadership and support always. I'm also immensely grateful for the unwavering support of all the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO office in Abuja, the head of the office and his support staff. I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you also for all the agencies in the Ministry of Environment, for making this event a resoundable success. Your commitment to your mandate has been demonstrated by your support in advancing the cause of the press briefing to raise awareness on environmental challenges facing our world. We look forward to a continuous collaboration to addressing the various degrees of dangers posed by climatic changes and other environmental degradation through strategic communication and alignment to our resources. Furthermore, this vote of thanks will be incomplete without recognizing the fourth realm, our dedicated journalists, for their support and participation in this event. As you all know, genuine democracy can deteriorate and even disappear in the absence of a free, independent, and diversified media space. You are a cornerstone of democracy, and you must never lose sight of the fact as you confront your daily activities and hazard therein. As we come to the end of this productive day, I once again want to express my gratitude to my colleague directors here present, to the head of our agencies and the agencies from the Federal Ministry of Environment, my staff, the staff of the Federal Ministry of Information. Most of us are journalists. Information officers are journalists. And so we are here in our large numbers. I want to commend you for being here. Happy World Press Freedom Day. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Please, another round of applause for the Director, Public Communication and National Orientation. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this press conference. After now, we're going to move outside to the front of the foyer where we're going to have a group photograph. All members. Okay. Yes, Yes. We'll move outside to the front of the foyer to have a group photograph, and after which we'll depart. But before then, we'll take the national anthem. I want to specially thank NTA for taking this program live on their network service. We want to sincerely appreciate you. Thank you very much. With that being said, may we please rise as we take the national anthem. Thank you very much. The high table will lead the way. Please, all Director Generals, the
joint ministerial press briefing in celebration of the year 2024 World Press Freedom Day with the theme, A Press for the Planet, Journalism in the Face of the Environmental Crisis. You will agree with me, it's been a successful outing. The host Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, and the visiting minister jointly, talking about this, Minister of State Environment, Ishaq Salako, jointly addressed the media to bring them up to speed what is expected of them as this year's celebration beam their searchlight to the members of the PEM profession. And indeed, it's been an interactive session where journalists also use the opportunity to give input on their expected role in safeguarding the environment. That has been the live broadcast from Radio House here. It's over to you, the studio, for the continuation of our other schedules program.